First contact at Proxima Station. The warning klaxons aboard Proxima Repair Station echoed through the maintenance bay, their urgent tone pulling Chief Engineer Sarah Chen from her inspection of a routine coolant leak. She looked up through the massive observation window, her eyes widening at the sight of an approaching vessel unlike anything she'd seen in her 15 years of space station service. Director Chen, unidentified vessel approaching on Vector 739, announced Araya, the station's AI system. Configuration unknown. No match in database. The ship was massive, easily 3 times the size of a standard Earth freighter, its hull covered in what appeared to be crystalline formations that pulsed with an inner light. As it drew closer, Sarah could see obvious damage along its port side. Great gouges in the crystal metal hybrid material that sparked with residual energy. Life signs? Sarah asked, already moving toward the primary control station. Multiple signatures detected, but reading inconsistencies in baseline patterns, unable to confirm species or number of occupants. Sarah nodded, her fingers flying across the holographic interface. Alert medical and security. Have Dr. Patil meet me in Dock 7. And get me a translation matrix ready. Something tells me we're about to make history. The vessel's approach was erratic, its trajectory suggesting failing stabilizers or damaged navigation systems. Sarah watched as ARIA automatically engaged the station's guidance beams, gently correcting the ship's course to prevent a catastrophic collision. Incoming transmission, ARIA announced. Audio only, unknown language pattern. The sound that filled the control room was unlike anything Sarah had ever heard, a complex series of harmonics that seemed to layer upon themselves, creating patterns that felt almost mathematical in their precision. The translation matrix struggled, status bars flickering as it attempted to decode the alien communication. Broadcasting standard greeting package on all frequencies, Sarah said, keeping her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her system. This was why humanity had built Proxima Station, to serve as a beacon of help and hope in the void between stars. Today, it would fulfill that purpose in a way no one had anticipated. The alien vessel's response came in the form of a sudden power surge that rippled across its crystalline surface. Warning indicators flashed across Sarah's screens as the ship's energy signature began to destabilize. Multiple system failures detected in the approaching vessel, ARIA reported. Power core showing signs of imminent cascade failure. Estimated time to critical. 12 minutes. Sarah's mind raced through the possibilities. Standard docking procedures took at least 15 minutes, and that was with familiar ship configurations. This vessel's unique design meant they'd be working blind, but they didn't have the luxury of time. ARIA, override safety protocols on Dock 7. Initiate emergency docking sequence Delta 9. Warning. Emergency sequence Delta 9 has never been attempted with an unknown vessel configuration. Risk of structural damage to station, 37%. Noted. Execute anyway. Sarah opened a channel to her crew. All hands, this is Director Chen. Emergency docking procedures in effect. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. The next 10 minutes were a blur of controlled chaos as Sarah and her team worked to guide the alien vessel into dock. The ship's crystal hull interfaced strangely with their standard docking clamps, creating showers of sparks and harmonic resonances that set everyone's teeth on edge. Just as the final seal was engaging, Dr. Patel's voice came through on the comm. Chen, we've got a situation at the airlock. The atmospheric readings from inside the vessel, they're impossible. The pressure levels alone should have crushed the hull hours ago. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. What are you saying? I'm saying whatever's in there, it doesn't live by the same rules we do. And they're requesting access to our station. Through the observation window, Sarah watched as the crystalline formations on the ship's hull began to pulse with increasing intensity, creating patterns that seemed to reach out toward the station itself. They had 12,000 souls aboard Proxima Station, and her decision in the next few moments would affect them all. Dr. Patel, prepare Quarantine Bay 2. Araya, activate the quantum isolation fields. Sarah took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. Let's show our guests what human hospitality looks like. The airlock cycle began, and humanity prepared to meet its first visitors from beyond known space. Whatever came through that door, Sarah knew one thing with certainty. This was just the beginning of a much larger story. As the inner door began to open, the crystalline patterns from the alien ship seemed to reach through the airlock itself, creating a display of light and energy that transformed the sterile docking bay into something that looked more like the inside of a kaleidoscope. Sarah Chen, along with the rest of humanity, was about to learn that the universe was far stranger and far more wonderful than anyone had imagined. The hidden protocol. The beings that emerged from the crystalline ship defied every expectation. They moved like liquid mercury, their forms shifting and flowing as they crossed the threshold into Proxima Station. Their bodies seemed to be composed of the same crystal-metal hybrid as their vessel, catching and refracting light in mesmerizing patterns. Sarah Chen stood her ground as three of the entities approached, their movements graceful despite their ship's obvious damage. Dr. Patel's medical scanners whirred frantically, trying to make sense of what they were seeing. Araya, status on translation progress, Sarah asked, keeping her voice steady. Translation matrix at 60% comprehension. Detecting mathematical patterns within their harmonic language. Attempting to establish baseline communication protocol. The largest of the crystalline beings stopped a few meters from Sarah, its form reorganizing itself into a roughly humanoid shape. A series of complex harmonics emanated from it. And this time, Araya's translation came through. Gratitude/urgency/warning. Pursuit/danger/imminent. Sarah's security chief, Marcus Wong, stepped forward. They're being chased. By what? Before ARIA could process the question, the station's long-range sensors blared to life. 3 vessels had just dropped out of FTL at the edge of the system, their energy signatures massive and obviously hostile. Director Chen, Araya's voice carried an unusual note of concern, analyzing approach vectors of pursuing vessels. Configuration matches partially corrupted data in our archives. Probability suggests Harvester-class ships. The crystalline beings emitted a cascade of harmonics that the translation matrix rendered as hunters/destroyers/collectors. Seek crystal song/life force/knowledge. Sarah's mind raced. Her station stood between these harvesters and their prey, but Proxima wasn't a military installation. They had basic defense systems, enough to deal with pirates and debris, but nothing that could stand up to 3 capital ships. ARIA, begin emergency protocols. Get all non-essential personnel to the inner habitation rings. Sarah turned to the crystalline beings. We need to know what we're dealing with. Can you share your data? The aliens' response was immediate and unexpected. They merged into a single form, extending a crystalline tendril toward the nearest computer interface. The moment they made contact, every screen in the docking bay lit up with streams of data. Warning, Araya announced, unknown protocol attempting to access core systems. Let them in, Sarah ordered, trusting her instincts, but maintain quantum isolation. The data flood revealed a horror story. The harvesters were ancient, moving from system to system, consuming civilizations that possessed what they called the crystal song, a form of consciousness that manifested as living crystal. Their victims weren't just killed, they were absorbed, their knowledge and essence used to power the harvesters' endless hunt. They're not just pirates or conquerors, Dr. Patel said, reading through the medical data. They're parasites on a cosmic scale. Sarah watched as the tactical displays showed the harvester ships closing in. They had maybe 20 minutes before they entered weapons range. She looked at the crystalline beings, who had separated back into individual forms. Your ship, she said, the damage. They did that. Affirmative/escape/partial success. Weapon/disruption/prevention of absorption. Marcus stepped closer to the display. They found a way to fight back. That's why they're being hunted. They're not just refugees, they're resistance fighters. Sarah nodded, an idea forming. The crystalline ship's damaged sections were still emanating unusual energy patterns, and those patterns seemed to interfere with the station's standard systems. If they could amplify that effect, HFY analyzed the energy signature from their damaged crystal sections. Compare it to the harvester ship's approach vectors. I want to know if we can weaponize that interference. The station's eye was quiet for a moment, processing. Analysis complete. The crystal damage creates a quantum resonance effect that disrupts similar crystalline structures. With modification, this could be adapted into a defensive measure. Can we do it in 15 minutes? Negative. Standard engineering protocols require at least 2 hours for such modifications. Sarah looked at the crystalline beings, then at her team. Good thing we don't have time for standard protocols. Dr. Patel, I need everything you've learned about their biology. Marcus, get your security teams to evacuate a 5-section radius around the damaged ship. We're going to try something that definitely violates several safety regulations. The crystalline beings emitted what the translator interpreted as approval/excitement/cooperation. They flowed toward their damaged vessel, their forms already beginning to merge with its structure. Sarah opened a station-wide channel. All hands, this is Director Chen. We have multiple hostile contacts incoming. What we do in the next 15 minutes will determine not just our fate, but potentially the fate of entire civilizations. I need everyone's best work. Chen out. As her crew scrambled to implement her desperate plan, Sarah caught her reflection in a darkened screen. The face that looked back at her was tired but determined. Proxima Station had been built to help those in need, to be a beacon of hope in the darkness between stars. Today they would live up to that promise, or die trying. The harvester ships grew larger on the main display, their crystalline weapons arrays beginning to power up. Sarah Chen and her crew had 15 minutes to turn a repair station into a fortress, using technology they barely understood to fight an enemy they just learned existed. It was going to be an interesting day. Breaking point. The next 12 minutes aboard Proxima Station unfolded in a blur of controlled chaos. Sarah Chen's plan was either brilliant or suicidal, possibly both. They were about to turn the damaged sections of the crystalline ship into an improvised quantum disruption weapon, using the station's power grid as an amplifier. Power rerouting complete, HFY announced. Warning. Current configuration exceeds safety parameters by 700%. Sarah watched as her engineering team worked alongside the crystalline beings, their forms flowing through the ship's damaged sections like living solder. Safety parameters are a luxury we don't have right now. What's the status on the harvester ships? 3 minutes to weapons range. Their crystal arrays are fully powered, detecting energy signatures consistent with quantum absorption technology. Marcus Wong's voice crackled over the comm. Security teams report all civilian sections are locked down. We've got everyone in the radiation shelters, which I really hope will protect against whatever those things are powering up. Primary quantum resonance interface online. Dr. Paddle reported from her makeshift research station. The crystalline beings have synchronized with both their ship and our power grid. But Sarah, the energy readings are off the scale. If this doesn't work perfectly, we could tear the station apart. Sarah took a deep breath, watching the massive harvester ships approach on the main display. Their crystal weapons glowed with an inner light that seemed to drink in the stars themselves. If this doesn't work, being torn apart might be preferable to what those things have planned. The crystalline beings emitted a series of harmonics that the translation matrix rendered as ready/willing/unified. Strength through cooperation/innovation/trust. Harvester ships entering weapons range, HFY announced. Detecting targeting locks across all sectors. Sarah opened a channel to the approaching vessels. Harvester ships, this is Director Sarah Chen of Proxima Station. You are entering restricted space. Withdraw immediately. The response came in a language that made the station speakers crackle with distortion. Araya's translation was choppy but clear enough. Surrender the crystal singers. Their resistance ends. Their song will join our chorus. Yeah, I don't think so. Sarah closed the channel and turned to her crew. Everyone ready to make history. Because we're about to try something that's either going to be taught in engineering schools for generations or serve as a very brief cautionary tale. The first harvester shot came without warning. A beam of crystalline energy that struck the station's outer shields and began to corrupt them on contact. The shield matrix itself started to crystallize, the effect spreading like frost across a window. Shields at 60% and falling, Araya reported. Crystallization effect spreading to secondary systems. Now, Sarah ordered, full power to the resonance array. The damaged sections of the refugee ship blazed to life, the crystalline beings within it glowing like captive stars. The station's power grid groaned as it fed energy into the jury-rigged weapon, while warning klaxons blared throughout every section. Warning. Araya's voice staticked. Power surge exceeding containment protocols. Station structural integrity compromised in multiple sections. The harvesters fired again, their crystalline beams converging on Proxima Station's weakening shields. But this time, something was different. Where their energy touched the station's modified defenses, it began to shatter and refract. It's working. Dr. Patel shouted over the growing resonance. The quantum interference pattern is disrupting their crystalline technology. Sarah watched as the effect spread, crawling back along the harvester's weapon beams like cracks in ice. The massive ships began to shudder, their crystal arrays flickering and fragmenting. But the victory was far from assured. The power drain was threatening to tear Proxima Station apart, and the crystalline beings were clearly struggling to maintain the resonance field. Warning indicators flashed across every console as systems began to fail throughout the station. Power grid at critical levels, Araya reported. 3 minutes to total system failure. Sarah looked at the main display, where the harvester ships were still pressing their attack despite the damage they were taking. They were ancient, experienced, and utterly ruthless. They wouldn't retreat just because their first assault had been blunted. The crystalline beings suddenly emitted a harmonic that made every piece of glass in the control room vibrate. Evolution/adaptation/survival. New approach needed. Sarah saw it in the data streams. The harvesters were already beginning to adjust their crystal frequencies to bypass the interference. The station's improvised defense wouldn't work for much longer, and they had no power for a second attempt. Dr. Patel, Sarah called out, you said their consciousness exists as a quantum pattern in the crystal matrix, right? Yes, but... And our quantum isolation fields are still running on backup power. Barely, but they won't last much longer. Sarah's fingers flew across her console as an idea took shape, one even crazier than their first plan. Araya, prepare to drop all shields on my mark. Divert all remaining power to the quantum isolation grid and prepare to invert the field projectors. Marcus stared at her. Drop our shields. They'll tear us apart. Maybe. Sarah looked at the crystalline beings. Unless our friends are willing to try something really ambitious. The aliens' response was immediate. Understanding/agreement/determination. Show us the way. As Sarah explained her desperate plan, the harvester ships launched another assault. This time, they would either make history or become it. The next few minutes would determine not just the fate of Proxima Station, but possibly the future of human-alien relations throughout the galaxy. And Sarah Chen was about to break every safety protocol ever written. Humanity's stand. Everyone clear on the plan? Sarah Chen asked, her eyes moving between her crew and the crystalline beings who had become their unlikely allies. The aliens' response resonated through the control room. Understanding/acceptance/anticipation. Humans bring new patterns. Dr. Patel looked up from her readings. This is insane, Sarah. We're talking about using the quantum isolation field as a weapon. It was never designed for this. Nothing on this station was designed for what we're doing today, Sarah replied. But that's what humans do. We adapt, we improvise, and sometimes we turn safety equipment into last-ditch weapons. The harvester ships loomed larger on the main display, their crystalline weapons reconfiguring to bypass the station's failing defenses. They had maybe 2 minutes before the enemy broke through. ARIA, begin power transfer to the quantum isolation grid. Reroute everything. Life support, artificial gravity, everything except emergency lighting and basic computer functions. Executing power transfer. Warning: this action will result in severe environmental degradation throughout the station. Sarah opened the station-wide comm. All hands, this is Director Chen. Secure all loose objects and activate emergency pressure suits. Gravity and life support will be offline in 30 seconds. As the announcement ended, Sarah felt the familiar lurch in her stomach as artificial gravity failed. Around her, loose objects began floating, creating an eerily beautiful dance of debris in the emergency lighting. The crystalline beings moved with newfound grace in the zero-gravity environment, their forms stretching and flowing like liquid starlight. They positioned themselves at key points around the control room, interfacing with the station's systems through direct crystal-to-metal contact. Harvester ships launching final assault. ARIA reported. Shields failing. Impact in 45 seconds. Sarah watched the readings from the quantum isolation grid as power levels built to unprecedented levels. What they were about to attempt had never been theorized, let alone tested. They were about to turn a containment system into a quantum weapon, using the crystalline being's own resonance as a template. Dr. Patel, status on the grid modifications. Field projectors are inverted and ready. But Sarah, if this works, it's going to affect our allies too. The quantum disruption won't discriminate between different types of crystalline consciousness. We know /accept/trust. The aliens harmonized. Temporary disruption/preservation/rebirth. Marcus Wong's voice came through the comm. Enemy ships entering final attack range. Whatever we're doing, it needs to happen now. Sarah took a deep breath of her suit's processed air. ARIA, prepare to drop shields on my mark. The moment they fire, initiate the inverted quantum field. The harvester ships moved into position, their weapons glowing with malevolent purpose. The moment stretched like wire pulled to its breaking point. Now, Proxima Station's shields dropped just as the harvesters fired, but instead of impacting the station directly, their crystalline energy beams met the inverted quantum isolation field. The effect was instantaneous and spectacular. The field acted like a mirror, but instead of reflecting energy, it reflected quantum states. The harvester's own consciousness-disrupting weapons were turned back on them, amplified by the crystalline being's resonance pattern. Through the observation windows, Sarah watched as fractal patterns of destruction raced across the harvester ships. Their crystal weapons shattered, the fragments spinning off into space like a shower of broken dreams. But the effect didn't stop there. The quantum backlash cascaded through every crystalline structure in range, including their allies. The friendly aliens' forms began to fragment, their harmonics becoming discordant. "Hold on," Sarah shouted, though she knew they couldn't respond anymore. ARIA, prepare to re-establish normal quantum field configuration on my mark. The harvester ships were coming apart now, their ancient crystal matrices unable to withstand having their own weapon turned against them. Centuries of absorbed consciousness and stolen knowledge were being released in a spectacular display of quantum destruction. Field reversal ready, ARIA announced. Caution. Power reserves at critical levels. Sarah waited until the last possible moment, watching as both friend and foe were reduced to their quantum components. The timing had to be perfect. Too soon, and the harvesters might survive. Too late, and their allies would be lost. Now, restore normal field configuration. The inverted quantum field collapsed, replaced by its original containment pattern. The effect was like watching a video in reverse. The fragmented crystalline beings began to reform, their scattered consciousness drawn back together by the restored field. The harvesters weren't so lucky. Without a stable quantum field to restore them, their shattered remains dispersed into space, centuries of predation ended by human ingenuity and crystalline courage. As artificial gravity slowly restored and emergency power began to flow back through the station, Sarah watched their alien allies reform. Their harmonics were weak at first, but growing stronger. Success/gratitude/evolution. Humans bring unexpected solutions. Sarah smiled, feeling the weight of exhaustion now that the immediate crisis had passed. That's kind of our specialty. Welcome to humanity's corner of the galaxy, where the impossible just takes a little engineering and a lot of crazy ideas. Around them, Proxima Station slowly came back to life, its systems restarting one by one. They had survived, and in doing so, had not only saved their alien guests, but potentially freed countless civilizations from the Harvester's threat. But as Sarah looked at the damage reports beginning to scroll across her screen, she knew their work was far from over. They had won the battle, but the implications of this first contact would ripple through human space for generations to come. And somewhere out there, other crystalline civilizations were about to learn that humanity had joined the galactic stage, not as conquerors or victims, but as problem solvers who turned repair stations into fortresses and safety systems into weapons. The universe would never be quite the same again. Legacy of Proxima. 3 days after the battle, Sarah Chen stood in Proxima Station's newly repaired observation dome, watching as crystalline ships emerged from FTL travel around the station. Unlike the Harvester's predatory vessels, these ships pulsed with harmonious light patterns, their crews responding to the call their rescued brethren had sent out. Director Chen, Araya announced, 5 more crystalline vessels have arrived in system. Total count now stands at 23 ships from 15 different civilizations. Who knew our little repair station would become an interstellar conference center? Dr. Paddle said, floating a tablet to Sarah with the latest analysis. Their quantum communication network is incredible. Word of what happened here has spread faster than we thought possible. Sarah skimmed the report, noting the progress they'd made in understanding the crystalline being's technology. The aliens had been remarkably open with their knowledge, eager to share with the humans who had helped defeat their ancient enemy. Message from the primary crystal flow consciousness, Araya reported. Translation follows. The harmonic language had become almost familiar now. Gratitude/celebration/proposal. Many songs gather/unite/plan. Humans bring new harmonies to the great chorus. Marcus Wong entered the dome, his security uniform still showing signs of the recent battle. The Earth government is losing their minds over this, you know. We've got diplomatic ships inbound from every major human world. Well, we did just help end a threat that's been terrorizing crystalline civilizations for centuries, Sarah replied, and demonstrated a completely new way to use quantum fields in the process. I imagine this going to attract some attention. Through the dome's transparent panels, they could see repair work continuing on the station's outer sections. The crystalline beings had proven to be natural engineers, their ability to flow through and interface with technology, making repairs surprisingly efficient. Did you see the preliminary designs they shared? Dr. Patel asked excitedly. They want to help us upgrade the station. Something about harmonious integration of crystal song with human innovation. Sarah nodded. The proposed upgrades would transform Proxima Station into something unprecedented. A true fusion of human and crystalline technology. The possibilities were staggering. Director, Araya interrupted. Incoming transmission from Earth Central. Priority 1. Put it through. Sarah straightened her uniform, still not used to dealing with high-level officials. The holographic display showed the stern face of Admiral Helena Rivera, Earth's head of extraterrestrial relations. Director Chen, I've reviewed your reports about the incident. The Joint Chiefs are concerned about the rapid influx of advanced alien vessels to Proxima Station. With respect, Admiral, these beings aren't a threat. They're refugees, survivors, and now potentially our greatest allies. What happened here wasn't just about defeating the Harvesters. It was about showing the galaxy something uniquely human. And what's that, Director? Sarah gestured to the ships visible through the dome. That were problem solvers. When faced with an ancient threat that had terrorized advanced civilizations for centuries, we didn't just fight back. We completely changed the rules. We turned a repair station's basic systems into a weapon that their enemy never saw coming. The Admiral was quiet for a moment. The crystalline beings are requesting permission to establish a permanent diplomatic presence at Proxima Station. They're calling it the Nexus of Harmonious Innovation. That sounds about right. Sarah smiled. They're fascinated by our approach to technology and problem solving. And honestly, Admiral, we have just as much to learn from them. Their quantum communication technology alone could revolutionize human space travel. The Joint Chiefs have approved their request, Admiral Rivera said, her stern expression softening slightly. Contingent on you remaining as director of the station, it seems our new allies specifically requested your continued involvement. After the Admiral signed off, Sarah turned back to the observation dome. The crystalline ships had arranged themselves in a complex geometric pattern around the station, their hulls pulsing with synchronized light patterns that looked almost like a celebration. Eria, what are they doing out there? According to their transmissions, Director, they are performing what translates as a song of new beginnings. It appears to be both a ceremony and a practical demonstration of their quantum network technology. The station's sensors registered the harmonic patterns rippling through space, carrying messages faster than light to distant crystalline worlds. They were announcing not just their victory over the Harvesters, but the emergence of humanity as a new force in the galaxy, not through military might or advanced technology, but through innovation, adaptability, and the willingness to help others in need. Dr. Patel's tablet chimed with new data. Sarah, look at this. They're offering to teach us how to integrate crystalline technology with our existing systems. But they're not just sharing their technology. They want to learn our engineering principles, our approach to problem solving. Well, Sarah said, watching as more ships emerged from FTL, carrying representatives from distant crystalline civilizations, I guess we'd better start designing some new repair base. Something tells me Proxima Station is about to get a lot busier. The crystalline being's harmonic message echoed through the station one last time. Future/possibility/harmony. Humans bring new songs to the eternal chorus. Together we build/grow/evolve. Sarah Chen smiled, thinking about how a simple repair station at the edge of human space had become the center point of humanity's first true alliance with an alien civilization. They had faced extinction and instead found friendship, turned defeat into victory, and showed the galaxy that sometimes the best solutions come from the most unexpected places. The legacy of Proxima Station was just beginning, and the song it would help compose would echo through the stars for generations to come.